Today, we will talk about the global conflict that could have led to World War III, the Suez Crisis. In this crisis, Egypt nationalized a canal in their country which was fundamental for Europe's economy because it connected the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea, making France and especially England very angry. This all happened for various reasons. Let's take a look at them. The parties involved were divided into three groups. The first one consisting of France, England, and Israel. The second one being Egypt, and the last being the USA. First, let's take a look at the main causes for the war. To do so, we will ask each person themselves.
Okay, let's settle this once and for all.
The most important figure for England was Anthony Eden, a conservative politician who served 3 periods as Foreign Secretary. England was part owner of the Suez Canal Company and went against Egypt when they nationalized the canal.
I think we all know why they started the war.
Guy Mollet was one of the French politicians that was most involved in the crisis. France was also part owner of the canal and saw the nationalization of the canal as an attack on their power in the region.
Yeah, and thanks to whom?
Gamal Abdel Nasser was the president of Egypt at the time, and he was the one to nationalize the canal.
Don't start, Nasser. You know who did it.
David Ben-Gurion was the prime minister of Israel. The country was furious by the nationalization of the canal because the country was banned from using it.
Everyone calm down. Let's hear each other out.
Dwight Eisenhower, the president of the US at the time, was against Britain and France for their attack on Egypt without America's consent.
I think we can all agree with that it was all Egypt's fault.
Yeah, they started it all when they nationalized the Suez Canal, where England and France were both part owners of.
No, the real reason was that England and the US withdrew their financial aid for Maidan, just because I deal for weapons with the Soviet Union. I need to protect my country, no matter what.
Not really. Without Israel, the war wouldn't have started. And what made us angry is that Egypt banned us from the canal.
Listen, there were many reasons, but I intervened because England and France, my allies, attacked Egypt without my consent.
Really, this was all building up from years before, since the Anglo-Egyptian Treaty.
Basically, the Anglo-Egyptian Treaty was a treaty between Egypt and England which dictated that the remaining troops in the country would stay in the canal zone with military presence until 1956, ensuring the protection of the canal and their country in case of war.
Yeah, the Anglo-Egyptian Treaty was where it all started. But the only reason we signed it was to get your country out of the business of mine. You controlled my country for many years, and even when you only supposed to have military influence around the canal, you had 10,000 soldiers who were supposed to train my people so that the country could have military support, but they were oppressing them and treating them badly. And at the end, you couldn't even give me money for the water dams in the country.
Let's not forget that you traded major weapons with the Soviet Union. What was that all about?
But that was because Israel took 38 of my man.
The point is that these two events made the USA and the UK very angry. And that's why we removed our financial aid for your water dams.
Making me nationalize the canal.
Yeah, and when we did that, France was affected because you took away our authority in that region. And now we have to pay to use the canal, which we were supposed part owners of.
And that affected our economy because half of the oil from our countries passes through that canal.
Okay, we can conclude that this all started because the canal was nationalized, which happened thanks to the Anglo-Egyptian Treaty, the weapon trading with the Soviet Union, and the withdrawal of financial support.
Yeah, in general, those were the reasons why.
I agree.
Now that we know why it happened, let's see all of the main events. The following clips show the full timeline of the Suez Crisis. This all starts with the creation of the canal, which opened in 1869 after 10 years of construction aided by French funding and Egyptian laborers. Then, in 1875, Britain bought off Egyptian shares of the Suez Canal Company, which made them become part owners of it as well. Later, in 1936, the Anglo-Egyptian Treaty was signed, which culminated 54 years of British imperialism in Egypt, and stated that the British would leave Egypt except for the canal zone, where they would have 10,000 of their troops to protect the canal in case of emergency.
So it's settled. England will stay here for 20 years to keep the canal safe, while Egypt cannot do so. At the same time, we will train your army so eventually Egypt can take care of the canal for themselves. Do you agree? Sign here.
Okay, I agree.
However, in 1951, many Egyptian citizens began to oppose against the British troops there, and violence began between both parties. Many began to notice that Farouk, the president of Egypt at the time, was pro-British. Because of this, Egyptian Revolution of 1952 began, and led by the Free Officers, a group of army officers, they overthrew Farouk and gave Gamal Abdel Nasser the presidency. Gamal wanted Egypt to be very powerful and free, and he decided to create water dams for the canal, for which he needed financial support.
Gamal, England and my country will give you the financial support you need for your dams.
We believe that this will make great changes.
Thank you, I'm sure of that. Mister?
This did not last long, however, because Gamal's Egyptian army was being aided by the Soviet Union, who gave them arms, and when England and the US heard about that, this happened.
This is incredible!
Yeah, we are giving you financial support for your dams and at the same time you are receiving weapons from the Soviet Union?
They're our enemies! Don't forget we're in the middle of the Cold War right now!
We are withdrawing all of our financial support effective immediately!
Gamal needed money for the construction of the dams, so he decided to nationalize the canal. With this, he would be able to get the money with the toll for the ships who wanted to use the canal. After hearing about this, France issued a secret meeting in Paris with England and Israel, who were enemies with Egypt because of the Arab-Israeli War.
Good morning, mister.
Morning.
Good morning,
morning.
mister. I'm glad you could all come. What Gamal did was just crazy.
I agree. We were supposed to be part owners of the canal, and now we will have to pay to use it? That will affect our economy.
At least you're going to be able to use it. Egypt banned me from using the canal. We need to do something now.
Okay, this is what we will do. Israel troops will invade the Sinai Peninsula, while Britain and my country will take over the canal under the pretext that we're trying to restore the peace of the nation.
Sounds good to me.
I agree.
So, in October, Israel invaded the peninsula, and the next day, France and Britain gave both sides an ultimatum which stated that they both had to retreat 10 miles from the Suez Canal or they would intervene. However, Israel's troops were 40 miles away, which gave England and France's plan away.
Eisenhower, yes? What? They did what? And they didn't even consult me? Their ally?
The US was furious because they knew nothing about their allies were planning. Regardless, some days later, British and French paratroopers went to the canal, and quickly, Egypt's army was overrun by the three countries attacking it. This meant the UK, France, and Israel won military-wise. Politically-wise, though, it was a mess.
We're being attacked by every country.
That's right. Everyone is siding with Egypt.
The USSR even threatening to use nuclear weapons against us.
Dwight, the USA's president, was going to kick us out of NATO, and he was going to devalue the pound by selling sterling bond, which would have crashed the UK's economy. England is ceasing hostilities effective immediately.
Yeah, my country is going to sign a ceasefire with Israel.
That's right.
British and French troops left Egypt, and Israel's troops left some months after that. With this, the Suez crisis was over, but with it came some consequences. Let's watch this news outlet to see what those were.
This is Karen,
And this is Katie.
and we're reporting live from the US for Us studios here in Calabasas.
The Suez crisis has just ended, and with it came many consequences. To begin with, 600 Egyptian soldiers died. Over 1,000 Egyptian civilians died as well. 26 French and British men also died. This is all the information we've got for you so far. We will let you know if we got anything new.
However, some did not only lose their lives, but their dignities as well. Britain and France now have a terrible image in front of the whole world politically. England even proved that they can't pursue any foreign policies without the consent of the USA.
Go America! Anthony Eden, Foreign Secretary of the UK, has now resigned office. Guy Mollet, French Prime Minister, didn't last long either. Israel, though, did show military potential against their neighbors. The UN has now begun to see the importance of national diplomacy.
As for Egypt, this was all a great success, especially for Nasser, who's now seen as the protector of the Arab world in front of all imperial powers.
We can resume this by saying that Britain and France weaken international relationships. As for Egypt, they overcome imperial power at last.
Thank you for watching.
You can watch us every day at 10 a.m.
Back to you, Tony.
I think we can all agree with that this crisis could have led to serious international conflict, but in the end, it showed a very clear example for underdeveloped countries surpassing imperial powers. It is clear that some of these countries fought as a result of thirst for resources to fuel their power. This has been seen for many years and is still something present today. Many countries follow an imperial drive, which causes wars like this one. We hope you learned and enjoyed. This was the Footprints of Imperialism, the Suez Crisis.
You did.
Down. Let's hear each other out.
Economy, because half of the oil for our countries passes through that canal. No era la barba.
O sea, no tienes que.
Says present, even present.
Siéntense, siéntense, siéntense. Siéntense, siéntense.
Pero vamos a decir good morning.
Sí, siéntense.
I'm glad you
Siéntate, siéntate, Juan Pablo, siéntate.
It was just crazy.
Así.
President even was gonna kick us.
What? They did what? ¿Cómo es?
Soldiers died. Over 1,000.
Vago.
Vagos
But some did the.
Me está picando algo.
1,000 civilian Egyptians. Era Egyptian civilians. Ah! You for so. Just died. These are the report. No, lo siento.
Proof that they didn't have the power.
¿Qué pasó, Gwen? Oh, the French Prime Minister didn't last long either.
Policy without the consent of the UK.
Go
USA.
America.
USA, es que me distraje por las steps.
As for Israel,
¡Está re bien!
Thank you for watching.
se me olvidó que tenía que decir. Secretary,
Resigned.
France have now a really bad image. Really? The biggest thing?
my mother.
Calabasas.
Otra la bueno. As for Israel, por favor, la última, por favor.
Puta, que no. Papi, excelente. ¡Pues puta, bien! I am Arabic. Yo soy árabe.